Dr. Maya Lin pressed her palm against the crystalline interface, watching data streams cascade across the holographic display like digital waterfalls. The galactic library stretched endlessly around her, its impossible architecture defying every law of physics she'd learned during her decades studying xenarchaeology. Towers of pure light spiraled into infinity, while knowledge repositories the size of moons orbited through carefully maintained gravity wells. Another dead end, she muttered, pulling back from the search terminal. For 3 standard years, she'd been hunting for traces of pre-contact human civilization, anything to prove that Earth's people had achieved spaceflight before the collective discovered them. The official records painted humanity as primitives, barely past nuclear fission when the benevolent galactic civilization had lifted them from their cradle world. Maya refused to believe it. The mathematical proofs were too elegant, the technological leaps too intuitive. Humans adapted to alien technology with an ease that suggested familiarity, not wonder. Research access denied, the library's eye announced in its melodious voice. Historical records classified by collective authority 779. She slammed her fist against the console. Another classification, another wall. Every promising lead vanished behind administrative barriers that seemed designed specifically to frustrate her inquiries. The other researchers had long since abandoned similar investigations, accepting the collective's narrative that humans were lucky newcomers to galactic civilization. The floating platforms around her hummed with activity as beings from across the galaxy pursued their own research. Tall, ethereal varans glided between terminals, their 6 arms manipulating multiple data streams simultaneously. Crystal-bodied Nexus entities communed directly with the library's systems, their consciousness flowing through fiber optic networks. Like living data, dozens of other species worked in harmonious productivity, all accepting their place in the grand tapestry of galactic knowledge. All except Maya. She walked to the observation deck, watching ships arrive and depart through the station's massive docking bays. The library occupied the exact center of the galaxy, positioned at coordinates that allowed optimal navigation routes to every inhabited system. According to the histories, the ancient builders had constructed this marvel 60,000 years ago, then mysteriously vanished, leaving behind only this monument to knowledge. But something nagged at her about those coordinates. She'd run the calculations dozens of times, and the positioning seemed almost too perfect for random selection. The gravitational mathematics, the stellar engineering required to maintain such a station at the galactic core, it all bore hallmarks of human-style problem-solving. Every great bond starts with a single moment of courage. HFY Chronicle Stories is just beginning, and your support matters. If you love emotional sci-fi tales, forbidden connections, and stories that stay with you, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring more stories from the stars to you. Soft chime indicated an incoming message. Her research partner, Dr. Alex Kim, appeared in holographic form beside her. His expression carried the weight of discovery and fear in equal measure. "Maya, you need to see this," he said, his voice tight with barely controlled excitement. "I found something in the restricted archives. Remember those linguistic patterns you identified in ancient builder texts? The ones that seemed familiar, but couldn't be placed?" She nodded, her pulse quickening. "I know why they seemed familiar. I've been running them through comparative analysis with pre-contact Earth languages, specifically dead languages from our archaeological record. Maya, the syntax structures match, not similar, identical. The mathematical concepts embedded in builder architecture follow human cognitive patterns." The implication hit her like a physical blow. "You're saying, I'm saying humans didn't just discover spaceflight before contact. We built this place. All of it. And somehow someone made sure we forgot. The restricted archive section existed in a space That shouldn't have been possible even by the library's already impossible standards. Alex led Maya through corridors that bent at angles that hurt to contemplate, past doors that opened into rooms larger than the spaces containing them. The very geometry here seemed designed to discourage casual exploration. "How did you even find this place?" Maya whispered, her voice echoing strangely in the twisted space. "I didn't find it," Alex replied, his fingers tracing symbols carved into walls that seemed to shift when observed directly. "It found me. 3 days ago, I was researching quantum archaeology techniques when a wall simply opened, like it was waiting for the right person to ask the right questions." They emerged into a vast chamber lined with what Maya initially mistook for books. As they approached, she realized these were memory crystals, each one containing the compressed knowledge of entire civilizations. The archive stretched beyond visual range, disappearing into shadows that seemed to swallow light itself. "The dating on these crystals is impossible," Alex explained, leading her to a specific section where the crystals hummed with barely contained energy. "According to every method we know, they're between 60 and 70,000 years old, but the information inside ... He activated a display interface, and holographic text began flowing around them. Maya's breath caught. The language was archaic, formal, but undeniably human. Not just human, specifically Earth-human, with linguistic roots she recognized from ancient Sumerian, Sanskrit, and dozen other dead languages from their homeworld. "Project Exodus Archive," Alex read aloud. "Final records of the Terra Collective. Established Galactic year 15,237 of the Common Era. As the Great Forgetting approaches, we commit these truths to eternal crystal, hoping that our descendants might one day reclaim their heritage." The text continued, detailing a human civilization that had not only achieved faster-than-light travel, but had been the first species to do so. They had explored the galaxy for millennia, establishing the trade routes and navigation beacons that other species still used. Most shocking of all, they had built the Galactic Library itself as a repository for knowledge from every world they encountered. "This is why the coordinates are perfect," Maya said, understanding flooding through her. "We didn't randomly select the galactic center. We calculated it, engineered it, built the entire infrastructure that modern galactic civilization depends on." Alex nodded grimly. "But look at this entry." He gestured to a section of text that pulsed with a different color, marked with warning. Symbols that seemed to writhe on their own. "The convergence protocol has been activated," Maya read. "Our expansion has attracted attention from the deep dark, entities that feed on civilization itself. To protect the knowledge we've gathered and the species we've contacted, Project Tabula must proceed. All traces of Terra Collective's galactic presence will be erased. Our people will be returned to their origin world, their memories adjusted, their technology reduced to primitive levels. It is the only way to hide from what comes hunting." "They wiped themselves out," Alex said quietly. "Not destroyed, hidden. They made themselves look like primitives to protect everyone else from something worse." Maya felt the weight of history pressing down on her. But what about the other species? The Varans, the Nexus entities, all the civilizations that supposedly developed independently. Alex's expression grew troubled. "Keep reading." The next section detailed the careful seeding of technology and knowledge to selected species, guiding their development along paths that would eventually lead them to rediscover and maintain the infrastructure humans had built. Each species had been given fragments of the whole, enough to participate in galactic civilization, but not enough to recognize its true origins. "We were their caretakers," Maya whispered, "all of them. Humanity guided every major species to spaceflight, gave them the tools they needed, then erased all evidence of our involvement. And now something's changing," Alex said, highlighting the final entries. "These crystals shouldn't be accessible. The security protocol should be absolute. But 3 days ago, They started opening themselves, as if the library itself wants to be discovered. As if summoned by his words, a new section of the archive began to glow. Ancient mechanisms whirred to life, and a holographic projection materialized before them. The figure was unmistakably human, but wearing clothing and technology far beyond anything in their current civilization's capability. "If you are seeing this," the figure said, "then the deep dark has returned, and it is time for humanity to remember who they truly are." The holographic figure solidified into the image of a woman who could have been Maya's distant ancestor. Her clothing rippled with embedded technology, and her eyes held the weight of impossible decisions. Behind her, star charts showed the galaxy as it had existed 60,000 years ago, younger, wilder, with fewer stable civilizations and vast unexplored regions. "I am Director Elena Torres of the Terra Collective," the figure continued. "If this message is playing, our monitoring systems have detected signs that the Devourers are stirring in the deep dark. Humanity's exile is ending, and the galaxy will need its original guardians once more." Maya and Alex exchanged glances. Neither had ever heard of anything called Devourers, but the way Torres spoke the word made the temperature in the ancient archive seem to drop several degrees. The hologram gestured, and the air around them filled with tactical displays showing space battles on a scale that dwarfed anything in recorded galactic history. Ships the size of small moons engaged entities that seemed to be made of living shadow, creatures that consumed entire star systems not for resources, but for the civilizations themselves. "The Devourers exist in the spaces between realities," Torres explained. "They are drawn to complexity, to consciousness, to the ordered patterns that thinking beings create. The more advanced a civilization becomes, the brighter it burns in their perception. 67,000 years ago, humanity's rapid expansion across the galaxy had made us a beacon visible across dimensional barriers." The display showed human fleets retreating from sectors of space that were simply emptying, not destroyed by conventional weapons, but drained of all structured matter, all information, all possibility of supporting organized existence. "We had 3 choices," Torres continued. "Fight and lose, ensuring the destruction of every species we'd contacted. Flee beyond the galactic rim and abandon all we'd built. Or implement the Tabula Protocol, make ourselves invisible by becoming deliberately primitive." The displays shifted, showing the careful dismantling of human infrastructure. Technologies that had taken millennia to develop were reduced to their component atoms. Entire fleets were disassembled and their crews returned to Earth with edited memories. The massive engineering projects that connected distant regions of the galaxy were disguised as natural phenomena. "But we couldn't simply abandon our responsibilities," Torres said. "The species we'd contacted, the civilizations we'd helped nurture, they needed guidance to reach technological maturity safely. So we became gardeners instead of explorers." New displays showed the careful seeding of technology and knowledge. Humans, operating in disguise, making contact with primitive species, and nudging their development along specific paths. Each major galactic civilization had been visited by humans at crucial moments in their development, given the tools they needed to join the greater community. The Varan's first warp drive was based on human mathematics, delivered by a crashed alien vessel that our agents strategically placed. The Nexus entity's quantum consciousness network followed specifications we embedded in their planetary crystal formations. Every major breakthrough that led to modern galactic civilization was human in origin. Maya felt dizzy as the implications sank in. "We've been playing puppet master for the entire galaxy." "Not puppet master," Torres corrected, as if responding to her comment. "Shepherd. We guided without controlling, helped without dominating." Each species developed their own culture, their own values, their own way of interpreting the tools we provided. The diversity of galactic civilization is genuine. We simply ensured it had the chance to flourish. Alex was studying the technical specifications flowing past them. These power signatures, the energy patterns, they're way beyond anything we have now. How did we lose so much capability? That was the point, Torres replied. The Tabula Protocol required genuine reduction of human capability. We couldn't simply pretend to be primitive, we had to become primitive. The technology, the knowledge, even the genetic modifications that allowed us to survive in hostile environments, all of it was carefully removed or suppressed. The hologram's expression grew grave, but we built in safeguards. When the devourers stir again, when their influence begins to seep back into our reality, the library itself will begin awakening dormant systems. The archives will open. The truth will reveal itself to those capable of understanding it. And that's happening now, Maya said. The signs are unmistakable, Torres confirmed. Reality distortions in the outer rim. Entire systems going dark. Not from natural causes, but from something that consumes structure itself. The monitoring stations we left in the deep dark have been sending alarm signals for the past standard year. A new display showed a map of the current galaxy, with red zones marking areas where space itself seemed to be deteriorating. Maya recognized several of those regions. They were the mysterious navigation hazards that ships avoided without anyone quite remembering why. Humanity must remember what it once was, Torres said. Not to reclaim dominance, but to fulfill the role we were born for. The galaxy's first children must become its guardians once more. The hologram began to fade, but Torres' voice remained strong. The next phase of your awakening is already beginning. Find the Ark ships, remember who you were. Prepare for what's coming. As the message ended, new sections of the archive began to activate, revealing technologies and knowledge that made Maya's head spin with possibility and terror in equal measure. The Ark ship, Remembrance, hung in the shadow of Jupiter's great red spot, its hull reflecting no light despite being larger than most space stations. Maya had to admire the audacity of hiding something so massive in plain sight. Every survey of the Sol system for the past 3 centuries had cataloged it as a derelict asteroid, too regular in shape to be natural, but too inert to merit investigation. The cloaking technology is still active after 60,000 years. Alex marveled, reading the scanner data from their approaching shuttle. The power source alone should have degraded millennia ago. Unless it's not technology as we understand it, Maya replied, studying the ship's impossible geometry. Like the library's archives, the Ark ship seemed to exist in more dimensions than the 3 they could perceive. Its surface rippled with patterns that suggested vast internal spaces, complex systems, still humming with purpose. The shuttle's proximity sensors detected an opening iris in the ship's hull, not mechanical doors, but a rearrangement of the hull material itself. As they passed through, Maya felt a subtle shift in reality, as if they'd crossed from one universe into a slightly different one where the laws of physics operated on expanded principles. The docking bay was vast enough to hold their entire research station, but it felt intimate rather than overwhelming. Soft illumination seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, and the air carried the scent of growing things despite the ship's apparent lifelessness. "Welcome home," a voice said as they disembarked. "I am the ship's consciousness designated Keeper of the Flame. I have been waiting for humanity's children to find their way back." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, carrying harmonics that resonated in their bones. Around them, the bay began to shift and change, walls becoming transparent to reveal corridors and chambers filled with impossible technologies. "You're an AI," Alex said, though his tone suggested he wasn't entirely certain. "I am what you might call a collective consciousness," the Keeper replied. "Born from the minds of the 10,000 humans who built this ship, their knowledge and memories, preserved in quantum crystal matrices. I am them, and they are me, and we are all together. Maya felt a chill of recognition. The Terra Collective's leadership didn't just implement the Tabula Protocol. They preserved themselves. In a manner of speaking, our bodies returned to Earth with edited memories, living normal human lives. But our knowledge, our experiences, our understanding of what humanity once achieved, all of that was preserved here, waiting for the time when it would be needed again. The ship around them continued to transform, revealing chambers filled with technologies that seemed more like living systems than mechanical constructs. Gardens of crystalline trees processed energy in ways that violated thermodynamics. Pools of liquid light served purposes Maya couldn't begin to guess. Corridors stretched away into distances that shouldn't fit within the ship's hull. How many ships like this are there? Maya asked. 47 remain functional, the keeper replied. Hidden throughout human space, each one containing different aspects of our civilization's knowledge. This ship holds the memories of our explorers and scientists. Others preserve our artists, our philosophers, our warriors, our dreamers. Alex was examining something that looked like a control interface, but responded to thought rather than touch. The technologies here, they're not just advanced. They're based on completely different principles than anything in current galactic civilization. Humanity's gift was not just intelligence or creativity, the keeper explained. It was adaptability. Where other species developed along specialized evolutionary paths, humans remained generalists. This made us uniquely capable of understanding and integrating the diverse approaches to existence we encountered across the galaxy. The ship's consciousness led them deeper into its interior, through chambers that demonstrated this principle. Here, Varan quantum mathematics had been combined with Nexus crystal technology and a dozen other species, innovations to create hybrid systems that surpassed their components. But it also made us visible to the Devourers, Maya said, beginning to understand. Precisely. The Devourers exist in the spaces between ordered realities. They are drawn to complexity, to systems that create new patterns and possibilities. Humanity's rapid integration of diverse technologies made us a beacon in dimensions where the Devourers hunt. They entered a vast chamber where holographic displays showed the current state of galactic civilization. Red zones marked areas where the Devourer's influence was growing stronger, where the ordered patterns of spacetime itself were beginning to deteriorate. It's accelerating, Alex observed. Whatever's happening in those regions, it's spreading faster than before. The Devourers are no longer dormant, the keeper confirmed. For 60,000 years, they slumbered in the deep dark, satisfied that the bright beacon of human civilization had been extinguished. But galactic civilization has grown beyond what we anticipated. The combined light of all the species we nurtured now burns almost as brightly as humanity once did. Maya felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on her shoulders. So hiding didn't work. We just delayed the inevitable. No, the keeper said firmly. We bought time. Time for other species to develop their own strengths, their own ways of understanding reality. Time for humanity to evolve beyond what we once were. The coming conflict will not be humanity standing alone against the darkness. It will be all of galactic civilization, guided by human knowledge but empowered by the diversity we helped create. The displays around them shifted, showing not just the current crisis, but potential futures. In some, the galaxy burned as the Devourers consumed everything humanity had worked to build. In others, a unified galactic civilization pushed back the darkness, using integrated technologies and coordinated strategies that no single species could have developed alone. The choice is before us, the keeper said. Will humanity reclaim its role as the galaxy's gardeners, or will we remain hidden while everything we work to protect is consumed? Maya looked at Alex, seeing her own determination reflected in his eyes. What do we need to do? First, the keeper replied, You must convince your species to remember what they once were. And then together, we must teach the galaxy to fight. Back. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the library's Great Assembly Hall. Representatives from 200 species gathering in a space that bent architecture to accommodate wildly different physiologies. Maya stood at the central podium, feeling the weight of thousands of eyes, sensors, and consciousness fields focused on her dot. She activated the holographic display, showing the evidence they'd compiled over the past 6 months. Star charts revealing the spreading dead zones, archaeological proof of humanity's ancient presence on dozens of worlds. Most damning of all, the recordings from Director Torres and the Ark ship consciousnesses. The truth is simple, Maya began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast hall. Human civilization did not begin 3 centuries ago when you found us. It began 70,000 years ago, when we first achieved faster-than-light travel and began exploring the galaxy you all now call home. The reaction was immediate and cacophonous. Varan delegates rippled through spectrums of outrage and disbelief. Nexus entities sparked with quantum interference patterns that translated as confusion and anger. Representatives from dozens of other species voiced their protests in languages that the universal translators struggled to process. Council Speaker Thainka of the Draconic Assembly raised her massive form, her voice booming over the chaos. This is preposterous. Human civilization lacks the technological base for such claims. Where is your evidence beyond manipulated recordings and convenient archaeological discoveries? Maya gestured, and the Ark ship remembrance materialized in the center of the assembly hall, not as a hologram, but as a real object, transported through dimensional folding technology that shouldn't have existed. The ship's impossible geometry cast shadows that fell in directions not aligned with any visible light source. The hall fell silent. This is the evidence, Maya said calmly. One of 47 Ark ships hidden throughout what you call human space. Each one contains the preserved knowledge and consciousness of our ancestors, the Terra Collective that built the foundation of galactic civilization. The Keeper's voice emanated from the ship, speaking in every language simultaneously. We greet our children of all species. For 60 millennia, we have watched you grow, guided your development, celebrated your achievements. Now the time of hiding is over, because the threat that forced us into exile has returned. New displays activated around the hall, showing real-time feeds from the galaxy's edge. Systems were dying, not destroyed by war or natural catastrophe, but simply ceasing to exist in any meaningful way. Space itself was becoming smooth, empty, devoid of the complex patterns that allowed matter and energy to organize into coherent structures. The Devourers, the Keeper continued, exist in the spaces between realities. They feed on complexity, on consciousness, on the ordered patterns that thinking beings create. They were drawn to humanity's rapid expansion, but we made ourselves invisible by deliberately reducing our civilization to apparent primitiveness. Speaker Thainka's scales rippled with colors Maya had never seen before. You claim to have created us? Guided our development like children? Not created, Maya corrected, nurtured. Each species developed their own culture, their own approach to existence. We simply ensured you had the tools necessary to reach technological maturity. The diversity of galactic civilization is genuine. We merely provided the common foundation that allowed different approaches to coexist. Alex stepped forward, activating displays that showed the technical specifications underlying galactic infrastructure. Every major trade route follows paths established by human survey ships. Every communication relay network uses protocols we developed. The navigation beacons, the universal translators, even the dimensional mathematics that allow this station to exist, all of it builds on human innovations. A nexus entity pulsed with deep harmonic frequencies. Our quantum consciousness network operates on principles we discovered independently. Discovered in crystal formations that human agents carefully seeded on your homeworlds, the Keeper replied gently. We gave you the tools, but you chose how to use them. The network you built exceeds anything we originally envisioned. Similar revelations followed for species after species. The Varen's elegant warp mathematics had been inspired by human theories encoded in seemingly natural phenomena. The Terulians' biotechnology had been guided by genetic templates left in their planet's ecosystem. The Zephyrians' mastery of stellar engineering followed principles embedded in ancient ruins that predated their civilization. You deceived us, Speaker Thainka accused, but her tone carried more hurt than anger. We protected you, Maya replied. The Devourers were too powerful for any one species to face alone. By hiding humanity's role and encouraging diversity, we created something stronger than our original civilization ever was. The display shifted to show projections of the spreading darkness. At current rates of expansion, the Devourers would reach inhabited systems within 2 standard years. This enemy you describe, a Varen delegate interjected. How do we fight something that exists between realities? The Ark ship reconfigured itself, revealing technologies that combined principles from every major galactic civilization. Weapons that could strike across dimensional barriers. Shields that reinforced the fundamental structure of spacetime itself. Ships designed not just to travel between stars, but to defend the very concept of ordered existence. Together, Maya said. Humanity provided the foundation, but you've all built something greater than we could have achieved alone. The Devourers are drawn to complexity, but they can be fought with coordinated complexity. Your quantum networks, their stellar engineering. Our adaptive technologies integrated into something that no single species could create. The Keeper's voice filled the hall with harmonics that spoke directly to the consciousness of every being present. The choice is before us all. We can fragment into suspicion and competition, while the darkness consumes everything we've built. Or we can remember that diversity of approach unified by common purpose is the greatest strength any civilization can possess. Speaker Thanko was quiet for a long moment, her massive form considering options that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Finally she spoke. If humanity truly guided our development, then you bear responsibility for our survival. Will you stand with us against this threat? Maya felt the weight of 60,000 years of careful planning and desperate hope settling on her shoulders. Around her, she sensed the consciousness of every preserved human explorer, scientist, and dreamer who had sacrificed their civilization to give the galaxy this chance. We will stand with you, she said. Not as your leaders, but as your partners. The age of human guardianship is over. The age of galactic cooperation begins now. The voting that followed was swift and unanimous. For the first time in recorded history, every member species of the Galactic Council agreed on something. They would fight the darkness together, using the combined knowledge of all civilizations to defend not just their worlds, but the very concept of structured existence itself. As the delegates dispersed to prepare their fleets and technologies, Maya looked out at the stars through the library's great observation dome. Somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, ancient enemies were stirring. But for the first time in 60,000 years, humanity would not face them alone. The galaxy they had helped nurture was ready to stand on its own, and together they would prove that consciousness, diversity, and cooperation could triumph over even the deepest darkness between the stars.